Shalom, I'm Rabbi Jonathan Ginsburg of the Ezra Habonim Niles Township Jewish Congregation. This video will be a brief introduction to the modern Jewish denominations. How did they begin? Well, you have to go back to the beginning of the 1800s in Germany. Before then, none of the modern terms of Orthodox, Conservative, Reform, Reconstructionist, Renewal, Secular Humanism, none of them existed. They were just Jews. But at that time in Germany, there were Jews that were very much wanted to be like their non-Jewish neighbors. They wanted to pray on Sunday. They were not observing the rules of kashrut, of kosher, or the Sabbath rules. They were intermarrying. And so there was a decision made to reform Judaism. And now, Reform rabbis may have a different understanding of this, but basically there was an accommodation to see that if we could modify Judaism to meet the needs of the people of that situation, maybe they could be saved. And so services, the Sabbath services were held on Sunday. The book of prayers was written mostly in German and opened in a German way instead of a Hebrew way from right to left. They called the rabbis ministers. They gave their sermons in German. They prayed in German. They stopped wearing hats, and they advocated ending and dismissal of the Jewish ritual rules by and large. Well, to that, there was a counter-reaction. Many rabbis in Germany said everything that they have said is forbidden. And that became orthodoxy, which means the right way or the only way. Now, in relation to that, there was a neo-Orthodox response, which said, well, not everything the Reform rabbis have said is forbidden. For example, there's no reason we can't give our sermons in German. There's some prayers historically that were done in the vernacular. Maybe we can do that too. And that counter-reaction of neo-Orthodoxy became essentially what is modern Orthodoxy today. Well, there were some kernels of conservative Judaism called positive historical Judaism in Europe at the time. But essentially, when the Reform movement came to the United States and set up a seminary to train rabbis, they had their first banquet of ordination, and they served shrimp cocktail. Well, some rabbis thought that that was too much reform and left to form what became then the center of Judaism, conservative Judaism. Basically saying we need to preserve Jewish tradition, we need to abide by Jewish law, but also recognizing that everything changes, every institution evolves, every civilization evolves, and so has Judaism historically and must continue to evolve today. And that became conservative Judaism. And that was really fueled by the mass movement of Russian Jews between 1880 and 1920 to the United States. There was a professor at the Jewish Theological Seminary, the main conservative seminary, who taught there for many decades, named Mordecai Kaplan, who had a slightly different idea. He didn't believe in the supernatural God, and he believed that Judaism should be viewed not in legal terms, but in civilizational terms, with a land, a language, a culture, and a history. And he didn't start his own denomination, but a denomination was started in his name called Reconstructionism, which essentially posited that we need to view Judaism as a civilization. In more recent times, there have been another formation of Judaism called Jewish Renewal, and also secular humanist Judaism, which is exactly what it sounds like, basically Judaism without God. Well, that's a very brief introduction to the modern denominations. They're trying to be exported through other areas of the Jewish world, but they're basically a North American phenomenon. We've had other denominations in Jewish history before. For example, 2,000 years ago, there was a group called the Sadducees that basically celebrated the sacrificial system. The Essenes, who took bodily laws of purity very seriously. The Pharisees, who were really the forerunners of modern rabbis, who believed rather than in sacrifice as much, more in the study of Torah and in prayer. But these modern terms and denominations of Judaism really are less than 200 years old and therefore represent just 5% of Jewish history. It's hard to predict the future and to know what's going to happen in the future. Reform Judaism has overtaken conservative Judaism statistically in terms of people that claim to be affiliated with one denomination in America. And Orthodoxy is growing for a lot of reasons. They're having many children. The children are marrying younger. They seem to be maintaining and attracting their youth. And conservative Judaism has lost a significant portion of the market share. It benefited greatly from varied demographic reasons in the 50s and 60s, and now with a new chancellor coming to the Jewish Theological Seminary, is looking for a way and a direction for the future. Hope that gives you a brief introduction to the various denominations of America and Jewry, and as we move forward into the future. Shalom.